Welcome back to the vlog. We're going to be playing at Capital Casino today, playing in the 1-3 game, and what a game it is. It's full of action players. First hand we have here, we have Queen 9 suited in the cutoff. There is an $11 straddle. 3 people are in front of me that decide to play. I play, and then we have the big blind putting in a small squeeze to $50. Seems like a pretty good price to me. Granted, it's not the best hand in the world to go to battle with, but with all that money already in the pot, I think I can go ahead and call this. Plus, the person in the big blind has had a few beers, you might say, and he seems like he's ready to mix it up. So when the action gets to me, I put in the call. So does the player on the button behind me, and we're going to go 3 ways to this flop. Looking to get some sort of pair or some sort of flush. Instead, we get a little bit of both. We get King, Queen, 6 with 2 spades, and of course, we have a pair of queens. The first player decides to lead out for $75, just like a standard continuation bet size from him, so nothing to do here but just call. Most likely he has a speed at this point, but we have many, many outs. So I put in the call. And the player on the button decides to also put in the call. But for a moment, it looked like he wanted to raise. And of course, if he did, I was going to be going with my hand. But he eventually just puts in the call. Well, really hoping for a spade. And that's exactly what we get when the dealer puts up the 4 of spades. Ah, what a great card. And not only that, the first player leads again, this time for $100. I don't have that much left in my stack. I probably have another little $220 left behind after I call this. It's a little dangerous giving someone with the ace of spades a free draw, but I'm just going to put in the smooth call and hopefully get paid on the river. River card comes is the King of Hearts. Well, that could get us in trouble. My opponent looks at my stack and then says, well, I'm going to put you all in. So he sticks out about $200 and some odd, and I quickly call, and he shows me ace, jack of spades. Well, it's not exactly the way I wanted to start off the day, getting felted. It's a little bit of a stretch playing that hand in the first place. We kind of got what I deserved. We get a seat change, so we have a little bit of better view. There was a $6 straddle. Player opens for $25. I got a caller in front of me. I decide to put in the call. And now the small blind decides to squeeze it up to 105. This is probably just hit the muck, but once I got another action player deciding to put in the call, I was a little bit tempted. I'm getting a fairly decent price if I flop something good, and if I don't, it should be fairly easy to get away from. So the other action player puts in the call for the 105. We get a fold from the player on my right. And so the 3 of us are going to go see a flop with $349 in the center. So we head off to a flop, which comes out King, King, 7, no spades. Yes, this is a bad flop for us. Any kind of bet, we're just going to give it up. It gets checked around. I'm just going to check this back. I'm giving up on the hand. Turn card comes. Ooh, it's an 8 of clubs. I don't think anyone has a king. We'll see what happens when they bet. The initial raiser leads out for 100. I think they'll be stabbing at this thing with just about anything. The other action player thinks for a while and then finally decides to put in the call for the 100. I think I'm good here. I think they're both on some sort of high card draw. So I jam. I have about $250 left in my stack. Wish I had more money. First player folds rather quickly. Next player says, well, you got it. I'm on a draw, and he puts in the money. River card comes as a 9 of spades, and he shows me Jack 10. I wish I had a deeper stack. Not going to make that mistake again today. Well, we've been playing for about an hour. We're in for $2,000. There was an open for 20. A bunch of people call. I call from the button, looking to set mine. So we go 7 ways to this flop that came out ace 6-3 rainbow. Not a very good flop for a pair of 9s. I'm pretty sure someone has some sort of ace here. So when it's checked to me, I'm just going to check it back. Turn card's a 5 of diamonds. Again, does nothing for me. it gets checked all the way around. And again, I am going to just take my showdown value. Hopefully a pair of nines will stand up. River card comes is a 9 of spades. Wow, what a perfect card. If it was a 9 of diamonds, I'll be a little bit concerned, but it checks all the way to me again. I'm just going to put out what I thought was a pot-sized bet of $120. My math was wrong, of course. You can see that it was $150. I got a quick call from the player in the big blind. Everybody else folds out. I show my set of nines, and he said that he had an ace, but was afraid to bet it. All right, we finally won a pot, and well, you know, we've been playing bomb pots. Normally they're $15, but this table is pretty deep. Everyone agrees to make it a $20 bomb pot. So we have $180 in the center. I'm in the under the gun position with a decent hand, 7-6 suited. It can make some straights and some flushes. Well, we're off to the flop, which comes out ace 5-4 with 2 hearts. So I got an open ender. Player to my right bets out for $100. He has a pretty deep stack, over $1,000. This is probably just a fold. I'll be honest with you. It's probably just a fold. But because he's deep, I decided to go ahead and put in the call. I'm a little worried that someone might raise it up behind me. And of course, that's exactly what happens. The player in the low jack decides to make it 400 to go. What does this mean? It means he has a hell of a lot better hand than 7 high at this point. And he has position on me. It's not a good situation. So everybody ends up folding, including the original bettor of the $100. And now it's back on me. And I'm thinking, all right, what could this person have? And a couple other interesting things that I noticed. First of all, he started to rack up his chips like he was going to leave. And he has about 1,500 in front of him. And I think that he's not really interested in getting involved in a all-in situation with a mediocre hand. So I'm thinking he has a very strong hand, at least 2 pair, probably aces up. Not sure he would do this with, say, ace X of hearts for a top pair and a flush draw. I'm thinking he probably has something like ace 5, ace 4, maybe even the dreaded 2-3. But I don't think he's doing this with a ace and a heart draw. So after considering some of the mathematics behind it, I decided that, you know, I can probably represent hearts if a heart comes, and if I happen to catch an 8 or a 3, I can definitely represent a straight because that's exactly what I'll have. So I decided to go for it and put in the call. I think a jam would only make him commit himself, and I think he won't fold. So let's just hope that we hit our hand with an 8, a 3, or a heart. Of course, the heart doesn't hit our hand, but we'll have a good bluffing opportunity. Turn card comes is the 7 of clubs. Not good. Well, it looks like my $300 gamble is not going to pay off. I have to check it over to him. If he goes all in, I am just required to fold this hand. Even though I have a pair and an open-end straight draw, it's definitely not good enough to call an all-in bet at this point. My opponent thinks for a bit and checks it back. Well, I think this is a huge mistake by my opponent. I'm sure he has 2 pair plus. Why wouldn't earth would he check it back unless he's just that fearful of going bust, because he has a nice win today and he had his chips racked up. Dealer burns and turns and put out the Queen of Hearts. Well, the Queen of Hearts didn't make my hand, but it is a great card because my hand can definitely look like I have a flush here. On the flop, I took out the possibility of him having an ace and a heart draw. So I think he has 2 pair. I got to go for it. I know I'm not supposed to be bluffing into someone with a strong range, but the way he has his chips had him racked up and he was ready to leave, and how he checked back the turn like he was a little bit scared of getting committed, got to go for it. I jam all in for my remaining 900 and change. He looks at me and he says, "God damn it, Doug." And he kind of holds his hand up, flicking the cards together, and folds face up ace-4 offsuit. He is an action player, and getting an action player to fold aces up, no matter when it is pretty tough. But I have a pretty tight image in his mind, and that the only way I'll be betting this is if I had him beat. He did ask to see my hand, and normally I don't show, but he was racking up to leave, and so I decided, why not? I showed my bluff, and the whole table erupted, and they were quite surprised. Well, it's even better than winning with a big bluff is when you get even and you pick up aces under the gun. I opened for $20. I got a couple callers, and then the small blind makes it 50. The big blind ends up folding, and I was trying to decide on how much I wanted to re-raise this, and I saw that the first limper looked like he was not going to be folding for anything. So I decided to make it 400. And before you guys go absolutely nuts on me in the comments, telling me that I should be raising a smaller amount, well, I figured that if I put in, say, 250 and the other opponent goes all in, then my opponent in the small blind will only have to call another $200. And that'll give him a pretty good chance to go set mining on me if he had a pocket pair. I wanted to pay more, so I made it 400. Looking back on this, I probably should have just made it 300 and accepted the action, and whatever happened. But I did make it 4. He did fold. And so it's just going to be a run out between me and the player from the low jack who was all in for roughly $200. Well, as you can tell, we smash the flop when it comes ace high, smash the turn when it comes to 3, make us the full house, and smash the river when we make quads. Yet things have definitely changed for me today. Here I am in the small blind, and there was a bunch of limpers. I raised to $30. Only get a call from the player on the button. He's been a very active player, and he's a little bit hot and stuck. So when the flop comes king, jack, 7, I decided just to check this over to him, kind of feign weakness. He checks it back rather quickly. Turn card, I do the same. I don't think he has very much. And when the river card comes as another jack, I decide to check again, hoping that he'll just take a stab at it. Me showing all this weakness, he's going to be firing. He does fire out for $65. I'm definitely going to be calling him. I was trying to decide whether it would be worth a raise or not, and after thinking about it, I don't think he has much at all, so a raise will only open me up for a playback. So I just put in the call. He shows 10 high, and we win this one. It's a little one, but I'll take it. Well, I played for a little while longer, but 2 of the action players decided to leave, and a couple of the stacks got very short when they did. So it wasn't quite as good a game as it was when I first started. I decided just to book a win after being stuck over $1,000 and come back the following day. This table doesn't have the action of that one yesterday, but it looks like a easier table. So there's a player that raised to 13 to my right. I make it 45 with ace queen suited from the hijack. The button puts in the call for the 45, and so does the original raiser. So we're going to go 3 ways to this flop. Flop comes out 10, 6, 3 rainbow. No diamond in sight. First player checks. Here, I'm only concerned with someone having either a pocket pair or a 10. And I figure I have 2 overcards if they happen to have a pocket pair. And I can probably chase out some of the 10s at least. So let's go ahead and fire for $60. Button thinks about it for a while and finally decides to fold. And the player that was to my right decides to put in a call, and it leaves himself with only like $10 behind. Once the player makes the call, I'm basically shutting down unless I hit something. If he called off that much of his stack, he has something that probably has me beat. So when it comes to 8 of diamonds, he checks it. I just check it on back. And then we get the ace on the river. He checks again. I go, I don't know if you can fold for $10, but here we go. And he decides he's going to fold for $10. And he threw his cards in as they flashed a jack and a 3. So he had a pair of 3s. Well, I pick up 2 aces after sitting around for about 50 minutes. Open for a raise to 15. I get called from the player in the low jack, the high jack, and the button. So it's just going to be 4 of us heading off to a flop. Flop comes out pretty good for my hand. It comes out queen, jack, 3 with 2 hearts. So I got an overpair and the nut flush draw. Normally I would just go ahead and fire this out and hopefully get called by draws and say a queen or a jack. I had a sense that one of the players behind me was going to take the lead, so I checked it over, and it gets checked to the player in the hijack who bets 35. The button folds out, comes back around to me, and I decided I was just going to call this. Probably a check raise would be best in this spot, but I do get an overcall from the other player who I think is fairly weak. Turn card comes as a 3 of spades, which is great. I figure anyone with a queen or even a strong jack would continue. So I did check it over to them, but it happens to get checked around. So he's probably on some sort of flush draw. 6 of clubs comes on the river. I know I have the best hand, but I think the only way to get value is to check it and let the player in the middle make a wager. I checked it 3 times. Doesn't look like my hand's very strong. The other player looks like he's on a flush draw. So the player in the middle, I think, is going to go ahead and take a stab at this, whether they have anything or not. After some thought, they decided to make a bet of $125. The hijack ended up folding, and now it's just a matter of going all in. He only has about another 150 behind, so I'm just going to go ahead and stick it all in. If he has a queen or a jack, he might look me up. We played a lot of poker together, and he knows I'm capable of making a move with nothing here if I felt some weakness. So he tanks for probably close to a minute and finally decides just to let it go. And it was a good lay down by him. I definitely had him. Shortly after this hand, I got not a table change, a seat change to the end of the table, so I had a better view. And I happened to pick up pocket kings on my very first hand of moving over to this seat. There was a limper. I raised to 20. I ended up getting 2 callers, one from the player in the small blind and one from the original limper. So the 3 of us are going to see a flop with a pot of $63. Comes out jack, 10, deuce, rainbow. Really good flop for my hand. Small blind checks. The original limper also puts in the check. And here I'm just going to put in a decent sized bet of $40. I think the small blind is not in the mood to be folding. He's the one from the previous hand when I had the pocket aces and made the tough laydown. He didn't rebuy. He kept the same stack, and I think this time the stack is going in. So he shoves all in for $99. Definitely going to be calling here. Hoping the other player to my right comes along, but he gets out of the way. I put in the quick call, and we're going to see a run out. If he has jack 10, so be it. If not, I have him beat. See a run out of a 9 and a 3. He does turn over a 10-4. He was just a little tilted and frustrated and decided to chase at the wrong time. This game was not as exciting as the one yesterday. I tried to get on a table change to a different table, but it was a long list to get onto that table. There was plenty of action there. So after about an hour, I decided just to call it quits and head on home. That first day, we ended up winning $315. We had a wild ride. Of course, we were down over $1,000 from the start. Battled our way back. Misplayed a few hands here and there. Got away with that big bluff when the person flopped aces up. That was the key hand of the day. And the following day, we had a nice, easy time of it. No real stress situation. We hit just about every hand we played and ended up winning $535. So for the month, we're up about $2,600. For the year, we're closing in on that 10K mark. So I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for all your support. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so. It does help out the channel. And until next time, good luck at the tables, and we'll see you back here soon.